Hey, what is up, everybody? Everybody, happy Thursday to you all. What's up, my friend? Dale's here with me, as always, on the last Friday of the month for the book review. What's up, my friend?
Is it the last Friday of the month already?
Oh, wait, last Thursday of the month. I think it
What
is
is?
last. Yeah, it's last Thursday.
Jeez, man,
Halloween's on Monday,
what are
right?
we doing? What happened to you this year?
Gotcha. I don't know. My son's been looking forward to Christmas for like the last 7 months, right? And so, and this is a really funny story, which I'll share with it. So
So
he
every month
learned.
is November in your house?
Well, he learned how to get on Amazon. And when he learned how to get on Amazon, he like he'll put things in. So we go to the cart on Amazon and there's $827 worth of stuff. And thank God he doesn't know how to hit the buy button, right? Because he's put all his that's how he makes his Christmas list. So
Yeah.
it's reoccurring. So we've been like, yeah, this year's flying by and we're on this whole, we're to this point now. So it's interesting. So yeah, it is flying by, my friends. Getting colder outside. Your football season may or may not be coming to an end with the little guys. The NFL's mid-season form already. So yeah, it's happening.
We're there. Yeah, last regular season game for us and my youth football team here this weekend. And
it's awesome.
And we're here. And meanwhile, we're grinding and doing our Lions Guide thing. A lot of exciting stuff over here with the rest of the year open house that we got going on. So if you guys
I'm gonna leave some time at the end for that. We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna review this one here, but I want to leave some time for that for all of our viewers who don't know.
So stay tuned for that, right? Open house, absolutely. Lions Guide, full experience.
You taught me to keep them hanging, so I'm going to keep them hanging. So that's my
keep
goal
them hanging.
now,
well, you got to give them something to hang on to, right?
That's right. That's how we do it here. Well, listen, let's talk about our book for you. Let's get to that. Good morning, JT. It's good to see you out there. I'm sure Jay-Z's on here too, but good to see you. Our performance director is watching this morning on Facebook. For everybody else, listen, let's talk about it. It's a staple book. Start with why, right? It is a staple thing from Sinek. It was Simon Sinek. It was his first book that he ever put out in 2009. I have a little. We'll get into what I have. My issue, not issues, but just my challenge has been with Simon over the years to listen to read his stuff. But I've read that one. I've read his Leaders Eat Last. I've read and then the Infinite Game also is the other one. I know he has another one out there as well. But let's talk about today's Start with Why. It's been the staple. What is it to you? Let's get the overview first of what you feel about it.
Well, I think when it came to this was how do I put this? What I think this was a great call to leaders with regard to, we've talked a lot about engagement, right? Because I feel like one of the things we naturally stumble into in this leadership side of Lions Guide and where there's a huge opportunity area is how leaders engage with their people, right? And what I thought this book did well was really open that up, right? And in its popularity, and even he's online a lot given the speech. There's a lot of YouTube that he gets on stage and does this too. So book aside, right? Like you can go watch one of his TEDx talks or whatever about this and kind of really get the gist of it. But what I appreciated the book and the power of it is really kind of blows that open, for the importance of engagement, right? The why are you here, right? And so I know we did the truth about employee engagement, but I think this is another good segue, really emphasizing on one of those areas, which is what are you really serving, in your role, what are you contributing to? And I think that's, so again, we're right back here again, talking about engagement. So.
Yeah. And to me, so I'm going to take it from a different perspective than the book's perspective to this point. And really, and I think I got it around 2011, 2012. And it came out in 2009. To me, this is what it was. Before him, it was Maxwell, McCovey, right? Those were kind of, in my eyes, the ones that you read if you were going to be a leader in some respects, and you were going to start reading leadership books. Those were right. McCovey's, books that he had, and Maxwell's, books too. Like those were the books that you had read to that point. And I
Yeah.
think those ones, to me, they really aligned with business in a sense of saying, like, if we're going to teach Maximo, we're going to teach McCovey during your MBA, right? Like, those are the ones that if you're going to get any leadership development in during your MBA and learn about business development and leadership development, those are the two you were going to get to, is how I felt,
Mhm.
right? And I think everybody back then, that's where you started when you were looking at leadership development and pieces of the puzzle. If you weren't reading about, military members, those were the ones on the outside that you kind of saw. But I looked at them now after I had read this in 12, and my mind, right, like, I was like, whoa, like like blown at that point about, like, dude, he's talking about explaining shit to people. Like, we're not supposed to do that. You're just supposed to do what we say because we know better, right? And I was in a very, and you've been this way too. We were in military things where it was, and business is quite like that, in the sense of saying, hey, hold on, do what you say, do what you're told, and this is what it is, right? And you didn't really question anything. 2009 phones weren't, the social media was not anywhere near, like, even in 12, social media wasn't enormous. I think around that time, I think, what, 11 or 10, the iPhone was just getting popular, where we were getting more and more, like, apps weren't huge at that point, right? And so, and I know that's 10 years ago, by the way. 10 years is what we're talking about, when I had picked up the book. So to me, it was the very much eye-opening, it's the Grateful Dead of music, where it was like, this dude's on something. Like, he's definitely smoking some stuff, but he's getting to something here, right? And we'll talk about the golden circle, but he was getting to things that mattered, but we didn't realize they were, they weren't at workplace matters. These were matters like, of course I care what I do, but, right, he was talking about purpose. He was talking about the why of it all, and that it was okay to explain it, and that was not being done at that point. Like, I don't know anyone who was doing it at that point.
Yeah, you were really making my gears spin there about did social media really drive, our access to such a high amount of engagement, right? So we're not talking
Sure.
quality, we're not talking method, just the high volume of engagement socially that
Right.
social media brought to us. Did it really crack the shell of this part of leadership? Not to say it never didn't exist beforehand, but really just made it a requirement, right? Because
Right.
I feel like you're saying even before social media, maybe we're a little bit robotic in this world of like you said, I'm in charge, you work for me, you do what I tell you, that's how the world is.
Right.
And now look, post COVID, like how far that's
Right. Now it's like, I care what my boss thinks. I care that he, or she thinks about women's like, there's all these things that people want to know, and it's like it's blended so much, right? And maybe that also is what COVID did, is there's been a blending like never before of this work home environment, that his book was ahead of his time, and now all of a sudden it absolutely is, it matters in it.
well,
It's,
dude, I'm gonna like toot the Lions Guide horn for a moment because
please too.
this is why Lions Guide from the get-go has been about a holistic approach to the leader,
Sure.
right? Because what you just said, you talked about it at scale of an organization or employee or whatever, but since day one, I said, look, I'm not here to just work with you on your business or work with you on your leadership. I have to work with you on you. I have to work with you on all three of those things because there's not one of those areas that you win so much that you're allowed to lose in the other ones.
Right. Right.
And, you were just kind of like pointing that out, but kind of like at scale where you, like you said, how important for both the home life, fulfillment period. Like,
And that's what
fulfillment
it's
all
become.
matters.
I think the home
Yeah.
life has become that. Prior to that, though, I remember talking about, and again, you're talking about, I was in a military institution, and you were too. They didn't, but when you were in, you didn't know the why you were doing stuff. You were just doing it because you were told to do it. And there's still absolute reason for that. And in business too. I'm not saying that there's not. But when you got to the why of something, it was the purpose. And when you look at why people had been unhappy with places, and nowadays, like, it's like, dude, you have, as a business, in my opinion, and I don't think it's all about money. I just don't believe that it is. I believe people are more purpose driven ever before to be doing something and to loving a job. And I fell into it where, when you don't have purpose, it's demoralizing to you, right? It's demoralizing to whether you're a millennial who went and got a job and was promised this is how it's going to be when you get out, and then you didn't get it, and you're like, what is my purpose? To someone who, who came out of the military after 20 years, and there's thousands of us who did this, well educated, well disciplined, leadership was demanded about us for 20 years of a war, and then you came out to a job that was way less purposeful for yourself, and you had to find it, right? It was the why is what Simon had been talking about forever was, look, and he talks about the golden circle. We might as well just talk about this now. And if you've never seen it before, it's simple. It's a target bullseye in the outside ring. There's the what, the middle ring is the how, and the very core of it is the why. And it really does. You got to get to it. You're going to have to get through the first two outer rings to get to the why. But eventuality is that you as a leader need to show what that is at some point. It's not always in the very beginning, in my opinion. And then it becomes resonating, that it becomes the factor of what people are doing. The other ones become easy. They become robotic, right? And Simon talks about this in his book before about it. It's, he says there are leaders, and then there are those who lead. Leaders hold a position of power or influence, and we're going to talk about a big word here, which I absolutely love, and it is one that I strive to achieve for, and that's inspiring. And we're going to get to that, inspire us. But just going back to the golden circle, it makes sense. Like, it makes sense to go, look, you may start off on these outer rings with something, and you have to, right? You teach people how to do something, whatever. But at some point, you need to get to the core of what are they doing this for? What is that? And I got a great example after you kind of put your two cents.
Well, don't a lot of, like, I'll say, team members come to that point at some point, right? Like, obviously we kick around clarity a lot here. I mean, these moments of frustration as a team member, a lot of times you go, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing this for? Like, right. How many times has that gone through your head where you're kind of getting some sort of directive and you just go, what are we doing this for? Because you've been given something so, like, surgical, so tactical. And, like, if you don't have clarity of the whole, like, you kind of, like, really challenged. But, like, once that the leader can go, hey, here's the bigger picture and here's the part you play in it, that tactical item, but they see where they fit. They're just not, they haven't been blinded to the whole and only given their sliver. They've been given their sliver, and clarity's been brought to the whole. Now they can.
I mean, it's making someone understand their purpose in the chain of things, right? I continually, if you don't tell somebody how they fit into the whole thing, what ends up happening is they go, what am I doing here? Why am I doing this? I'm going to give you a great example. So when we were in 2015, we were the second carrier strike group when ISIS had kicked off and they were started to get popular. We relieved a strike group who started with that and doing the things in Syria, and then we were there. I had been on many deployments before. I had seen, and a lot of them were in places in the Pacific that we were just there for presence in case China kicked off. Look at my man. My man's coming on. I love it. Yeah, buddy.
Dang,
add yourself.
Special guest.
Here we go. I'm going to add him right now. I'm trying to add him. There he is. What's up, dude? Whoa. You're on mute, brother. You're on mute. Can't hear you yet.
So we figured since Jay's going to sit there and watch us anyway, might as well. It's easier.
He's the new guy. He's the new guy. And look at him,
man. Like, instead
of, like, he's screwing up. He's screwing it up because he doesn't know how to. It's simple. The why of this. Now he's off. Here we go.
Look at this guy. There we go. Trying to do something spontaneous.
We don't pay him I hope we don't pay him a lot. Let's just not make sure we don't pay this guy a lot of money.
Still can't hear him.
We can still make fun of him because he can't talk, so it doesn't matter. No, we don't hear you, Jay. Oh my God, you're totally ruining the Flipside right now. Wow. That's not true. What are you doing? It's a volume button, bro.
Apologize.
Are we doing? Yeah,
Steve.
we should. We should absolutely.
Steve. Yeah, I called you Steve.
Like I said, I just muted his mic. Now I unmuted it. Can you talk yet?
It's his mic settings, probably. We'll let him figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. So, anyways, we're out here, and one of my commanders did one of the best things that he could ever do during, and it doesn't happen a lot. He took the video cameras that the F-18 Hornets were taking as they were bombing and as we were killing bad guys, and he got approval to show them on the mess decks. And what it did was it showed, right? The guys on top were easy to see the purpose here and the why, right? They knew, we all knew ISIS was bad people. We had speeches about it once a week not about like that they are bad, but what we were doing. And that's one part of it. But then to be able to do that, like what it ended up happening was is they could sit on the mess decks that the cooks, down to the cook level, right? Who you didn't even like, wasn't, how do you connect that to killing a bad guy, right? Mm-hmm. Like he was able to do that by simply saying, let's release these videos on the mess decks, show them. And then what people saw was man, you know what? I'm making these food for these pilots or for these maintainers that are taking care of these jets, that these bombs are being loaded on, that the aircrafts are being launched on, and they're going off and doing these missions, and then they're coming home. And dude, there was a connection. The why was easy at that point to go, man, I'm going to make the best food I can. And I got to be totally honest with you, Dale, when we pulled into port, we were pulling into port probably every 35 days for major refuels and for major like stock up on food and stuff. We had some of the least amount of problems of 5,000 people coming into a port at one time. We had some of the least amount of problems because people were fulfilled. Were they blowing off steam? Absolutely. But their purpose was like, man, I know I'm about to.
They knew it was at risk.
Absolutely. And they knew what their job was important, and they knew the why was there, right? It was easy. And I'm not saying it's that easy for everybody, and you got to equate yourself. But look, if you're making the best pizzas, why are you making the best pizzas? Because, man, people miss their Italian roots maybe, and they really want a great pizza that's back to their Italian roots. And there's a why in there someplace that you can figure it out of why we do it great every single time, right? I mean, I look at the high-end restaurants and the 5-star, 4-star restaurants, and you're like, those guys, it's got to be perfection every single time because the why is there, and that's not, throw it out if it's not. Like, there's so much
you're saying, because kind of on the line theme.
Yeah, do it.
The why is installing some pride.
Oh, sure. Look at you. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. It's pride and purpose, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pride and purpose is what it is. And I mean, I'm telling you, if you find that within yourselves, like I think sometimes it's easier. You can get lost in the sauce, but I think when you talk about medical and you talk about like service providers that do like emergency like the why is like we're saving lives, right? We're helping people. And that's sometimes can get clouded when you end up doing the rest of it, right? And some other things. Like you gotta connect the dots to go, how does the garbage, well, hey, if you don't do, if we don't have this taken away, this stuff is going to be right. And you can see, and you can make those connections aren't made though every day. And I think what the book really made it easy to say, look, start with your golden ring, start with your what on the outside, make sure that the how is there. And then you're going to get to that why. And Dale, unless you disagree, it's not always the fastest thing to get there, nor is it the right reason to go immediately to that. Sometimes I think there's a good stepping stone towards getting to that at some points.
Well, again, kind of where this topic fits into our society today, even, right? Like sometimes you roll around your head as a leader, like how much is too much?
Sure.
Information, when we're talking about like we're giving them their purpose, but like And certainly there's validity there. And then there's also the, you're doing this because this is doing this and this is doing this and this is doing this. And here's some 10 scenarios that we're up against and challenge. Like, there's that. Jay, how's your audio, Jay?
He's fired. Dude.
Still not doing it.
He sounds like a Smurf being choked.
Is this where we start having army jokes because he cannot reply?
Yep.
He can only be here.
And he's an engineer too. Like I know it's like a geology engineer or some bullshit, but still, this is ridiculous.
Nope.
Right.
What's funny is it's coming through, Jay, like a Mickey Mouse. Like it's like it's picked up some wrong.
It's a drunk Mickey Mouse is what you're coming in as, which is hilarious. This may actually boost ratings. Who knows? This may actually boost ratings. It's
not picking up. You're right.
Now I can't hear you. What the?
Wait, no, we're good. We can hear you now.
It's not picking up as correct, Mike.
Oh gosh, Jesus! Look at this. I'm really sorry for all of our viewers that we've downgraded to this now. This is just, I don't know what it is. I'm sorry. I blame Dale.
I can't hear you guys. So.
Oh, you sound great.
We can hear you.
I should probably. I don't want to interrupt the. I probably need to go offline and figure this out. So.
He sounds amazing right now, by the way.
Well, no, it's picking up his laptop mic.
Yeah.
Instead of his like.
But now he just needs to put his mic onto the laptop, and it would work fine. This is hilarious. We know you got it. So for all of our viewers, to Jay's defense, let's just be. We're gonna help out here. He did get a new laptop this week, so he's using a new laptop, so that's a good thing. So he has higher capacity, and he did just switch back to PC from Mac. So the other part.
Well, he needs to be commended for that. In fact, that should be why he's here, because he. You're allowed to be on the show now that you're back on a Windows system.
But we need to get him to go to an iPhone like you and I, right? So it's iPhone phones, PC computers. That's how we roll here at Lions Guide. If you didn't know.
The tribe of Apple lovers will burn us.
I know they will. I know that's okay.
We're just kidding, guys. We're still in the camp where we're allowed to kid.
That's right. We just like different things. No big deal. Talk, Jay. Can you talk? Nope. Now you're back to crappy again. You can hear us now better, but now you can't talk. So it's one or the other. Maybe you should just, when you want to talk, you just go to your other one and then come back. Like if that's the way it's got to be, I don't know.
Anyways,
brother, I'm going to remove you and let you figure it out. Is that okay?
It is so funny how it's coming through.
It's like a high pitched. Yeah, it's hilarious. All right. See you, buddy.
We tried.
We did. All right. So let's get back to it.
Back to the chat with you, Jay.
That's hilarious, dude. That's hilarious. The chat. These will be one of these memories. Like the time that I started and did 10 minutes with Laura, and then all of a sudden figured out I hadn't hit start go live yet. So we had to start the whole thing over. Yeah, this happens.
My podcast with David Powell, another great leader out there who follows along, been a contributor to Lions Guide. We did his whole podcast for 20 minutes, and we realized later that I could hear him, and it was fine. Like his laptop mic had hit. So in the beginning, when we're pre-gaming, I'm like, yeah, I can hear you good. Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you. Blah, blah, blah. Well, as we got into it, 20 minutes in, we found out that I was actually hearing him through his laptop mic, which was closed. He had external displays and stuff.
Yeah.
His laptop was closed, and about 20 minutes in, his fan kicks on his laptop.
Yeah.
And it like covered him up. And I said, oh, I realized. But the whole time he had an external mic that it wasn't it was the other.
That's hilarious.
And we had to start over. We haven't had to start over often.
That's okay.
But this is live. Flipside's live.
It is live. I know it is. That's how we do this,
breakfast.
Brother.
Yeah.
That's how we do it.
Anyways, back to the book. Everyone's
so let's talk about that circle real quick, because I think it's important to really talk about it. I think he makes a good point about the golden circle again. What on the outside, how in the middle, or how in the middle ring, and then the why in the center. I think he does a good really job of talking about that. Companies do a great job of saying of the what. Like that's the easy part of going, what do we do? Right? And they're HR directives, their SOPs, their workflows are all about the what.
Mhm.
And those are written in stone, in black and white, in blood, whatever you want to say. The what is there. And it's not hard for a company because you don't start a company without the what, right? That's I think the point of it all is that it's really, and then the how is pretty well defined as well, of saying now it's workflow processes, is how do we do this? What if this, then this? And we get down to that. And it's they're often used to kind of explain the what, and it's a tagline almost, right? So we know what, the how comes with it, because this is, if we had to explain the what more, the how is how we do it, right? But then you get to the why, and then it's not it's some I'll make an argument that it's there, but it's not pronounced. It's kept in the dark. It's a little bit of, right, because one, nobody wants to come out and say, well, we do this because, why do we do this? Because we need to make money, right? There's your one ticket that, like, of course this is why we do it. We're doing it because we need to make, but that's not it, right? It goes deeper than that.
And this brings me back to stuff that we learn in the service around leadership, right? There's strategy, operations, and tactics, right?
Yep.
And so, another way to think about this is like the why is the strategy, the how is the operations, and the what you're going to do towards all that is the tactics, right? Like,
Sure.
So tactically, you're going to do this because this is how we're going to get this strategy accomplished, right? So, yeah, I picked up on that too. There was a lot of good pieces around this circle, and and again, dude, it's the beach ball. It's your beach ball, right? We're just teaching the same things
Sure.
in a different, perspective, direction, whatever.
Yeah. And again, I think we go back to the book, and it's a great, like, if you're a leader and you're wanting to grow yourself, and you feel like you're very robotic, and your mind hasn't been necessarily expanded yet with leadership development, I think, look, you're not going to take this book on, and it's not going to how do I put it? It probably won't change your world in a sense of like, oh, now I have to do this every time. This is just the most amazing. But in from 2020 till now, I would say, make an argument. Again, I think in 2009, he was ahead of his time with it. It's been integrated more in. I think with the hybrid work environments that we have, with these walls that you and I live in and we play in, and companies like us that do this, I think understanding the why, and I think some industries are very much easier to define the why than others, right? Like, it's, and it goes past. So one thing he mentioned here, which I really like, is the why really means the purpose, the cause, the belief. Take a nonprofit that's fighting cancer. That's an easy cause, an easy purpose, an easy belief. I get it. Not a problem. Find another one though, that's again, you can come up with the small whys of stuff, but really get into the deep of why someone is doing it differently. Right?
Why are we doing this?
Why are we doing this? As if I asked, so you're put me on the spot because we're real and raw. It's easy. I have no problem doing this. I believe that in the end of this whole thing, and the core purpose of Lion's Guide is to help people. If and make a better place, right? Because if we help people, we end up helping customers, communities, right? Companies be better in today's world. That ends up making a better world, right? And I know that can get really cheesy, and it can get whatever, but like, I truly believe of helping people. And here's the other thing. I feel like, and I know you do too, and I know Jay feels the same way. I'm going to sit at home with all this knowledge and not give it away. What am I doing then? What am I holding it for? Right. Like, I can hold it for one company, or I can hold it for 100 companies, or I can hold it for 200 people, and share the knowledge and let them know. Is by any means do we? I don't think, and I don't think Simon is the same way. It doesn't work for every single thing, and it's taken in, if you would say, like, it's taken in doses, right? Like you take your whys, and I looked at it anyways. And one of my flaws, I guess, about it is it's not a full bore thing. You can't just here you go, right? Because you're gonna find some people that go, look, I'm just here for the money.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like that. It's okay. Like, we don't have to find the noblest of causes for everybody doing everything all the time. Sometimes, look, we have basic needs of things, and we have, like, people have different desires and they have different goals and everything.
Well,
I am all about the noblest of goals, and if that's your thing, great, no problem. People are at different stages of their lives. They've seen different things.
their whys are different at
Yeah,
that time.
absolutely.
Like our whys are circumstantial.
100%.
Yeah.
And there's times where that doesn't matter. Like, the cause doesn't matter. It's more about the purpose of it, of what it's doing, right? Is there times I'm, like, I will never, you know me, right? Honesty, consistency, transparency. I'm always going to tell you how I feel all the time. And sometimes that's going to be like, look, I need this because X, Y, and Z, not because, but what's the supplement of that? Supplement is that I'm still here. I still want to, and I still, right. And that's, I think that's everybody, right? Does everybody want to go make their pizzas every day at the pizza restaurant? Probably not. I'm sure that doesn't happen. But some days you're like, man, I'm going to make the best pizza I can because this person's going to, sit down and have a foodgasm in their mouth. And that's my goal, right? Is foodgasms if I'm at a pizzeria. So, I mean,
if you create one,
it.
yeah. I mean, and if you want to be a part of a group that's aligned in that mission to accomplish that, and and back to, again, us for a moment, just to kind of like play the game of start with why as compared to like what our mission and passion is today. Like, rewind back to beginning of this year or whenever you and I first talking, obviously we met, but what we agreed on when it comes to leadership was that the world is starving for good leadership. And just like there's tens of thousands or more of cancer centers, right? There's not one that's going to solve for cancer.
Sure.
And, what we said is, like, the world is starving for good leadership, and we want to get in that fight too, right? Like, we want to be a part of that good fight to get that done. And that's our why, is like, the world is starving for good leadership. It's hard to be a great leader. It's a hard job. So there's the performance part of it. And, we see the opportunity for business owners to be really influence, like you've mentioned, like who we're working for matters, right? Like, all businesses have someone that own it. And, like the small business owners of America, which is the majority of American business, is small business. If our small business community was excellent at leadership, and we're able to meet the demands of being great leaders, like how much better would our communities and forth be? These are the people that are the leaders. They're willing to stick their necks out and create something and whatever. And so it's the why is important, and that excites me, right? Like, kind of keeping our journey here as relates to the topic, like that, to me, man, this is exciting, man. Let's go help some people, right? To your point, like, we're here to help people.
Yeah. And to prove we're not about money, from now until January, it's free. No, it's a great segue, but we'll talk about that later. I think, like, and we can close in on, like, if you don't know, if you've been living under a stone and you just have never, if you've never really gotten into the leadership realm, Sinek's line of books, not just Why, is a good avenue so if we take leadership development and agree with me or not on this one, if I take leadership development and I look at it like we always on Lions Guide, we love to use the beach ball analogy, right? Jay Teagues, when his technology works, would agree. We all like to say the beach ball theory, right? I look at the orange panel, Dale looks at the blue panel, Jay looks at the yellow panel, right? And there's the white panels connecting them all, right? And but it's one beach ball we're looking at. If I took that beach ball and called it leadership development and how you were going to better yourself as being a leader, I look at Sinek in a way of looking at one panel of the ball and saying, he takes a very unique look at it, almost like a psychologist or a therapist does in how he does it, because he gets to what I would call the heart, what I would call kind of the the feeling portion of leadership that you want to do. It's a good way. It's a great introduction way to do it. There's a lot of people now that have gone off of this about this kind of purpose-driven leadership and about, employee engagement and really connecting with people, not just on a work level, but on other levels where you're trying to do it. There's great companies out there that are using personality tests that are being able to kind of, hey, you need to know that this person is a this type of personality, because now you're going to have to interact with them, and your type A personality is probably not going to work if you go at like tons of different things out there. But this is a great way to kind of get to the basis of saying, hey, look, people need purpose. If you're a leader and you take nothing else from Start With Why, I think creating it and finding a way to create purpose for your employees in what you do, right? Individually, by the way, like not just your business goal of the why, but also individually their jobs and how it connects to the entire piece of the puzzle of your, think of it as the Henry Ford model of look, everybody has a certain job and you don't get a final product from your company unless you get it all. Well, making sure that they understand that, sixth item that has to be placed to make that's as important as everybody else's, right? And I think that was what is one of my biggest takeaways, to be able to say, if I had to sum this up and say, how does this work really? That's kind of one of the way, right? Because you're going to lead to inspiring people, right?
Yeah, and back to why, right? Like your example of the personality test, knowing someone's a type A serves as a good why in how you engage with them to be productive, right? So if you just walked in and they go, hey man, this is how you need to deal with Bob. Now, again, that said, period, hard stop. You're going to be like, I'll talk to Bob however I want to talk to Bob, right? Whatever. Right. But if you go, hey man, we did some personality testing a few months ago and we learned that Bob is type A and this is how he receives and portrays things. Now you know why you want to approach Bob in a certain way. Again, it's there.
Because I don't want to understate the fact that Simon really talks about your goal is to get to not just to leading people, but to inspiring them, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's through things like empowerment. And I know I try to teach this in everyday leadership, but you try to get to a point where you're trying to create. So, and I'll say this, I used to say this a lot to brand new chiefs and to brand new leaders when I was there. People thought, and we have this notion in our society in general, that because you're holding a certain leadership role and people that are underneath you, there's a common belief that you need to inspire them to be where you are. And that's the wrong way to look at inspiration. Inspiration is about trying to get them to be where you are, right? It's trying to get them to be the best versions of themselves, right? And that may not be where you are. And I will say this from an enlisted standpoint, and I wish Jay was on here for this, but not every enlisted person needs to be a senior enlisted person. Some of them have the skill sets early that you can identify to go be officers. And that doesn't make it bad for the enlisted saying that that's less. It's two different skill sets of what you're trying to do, right? There's pathways that are there. And that's really hard for people to understand, saying, well, I'm this assistant manager. Don't you want to be the assistant manager? No, you need to be able to look at somebody, figure out their why, help them understand their why, and then make the connection to go, yeah, maybe they do want this, or maybe they don't and they're better. And then how do you do that? Right? Richard Branson has that quote, and I'm going to misquote it, but you train people well enough to what is it, to get them to leave and hope that they don't, or know that they don't, whatever that one
the
is.
quote to effect of that.
Yeah.
If you train your people well, they might leave, but if you don't train them, they might stay.
Right.
Something
Yeah.
like that,
And it's like, look, if you create the environment around it, they're not going to want to leave, right? And if you have plans and you're a good business person and you have plans with how you're going to, compensate them as they keep going, and that's a value piece that you can add in so many different ways, and you use empowerment, and the why is underlying all of this, dude. You have, I mean, it's insane what you end up
Well,
being able to do.
what you kind of like came close to is also like everyone's why, like why they're here. And maybe they're here because they're passionate about the technology. Maybe they're passionate about the mission. And if we align, right? If I know what your why is, why you're here, and you know why my
Yeah.
is, and you know what the organization's why is, right? We can all keep rowing in the same direction, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good. Well, listen, we spent the first 40 minutes talking about this. I did want to dedicate time for everybody, so it's on the record. Let's talk about what we're doing in Lions Guide, because I love it. Now till January 1st. What can we do, Dale? Tell us.
Well, what are we doing? We have
I'm excited. I know.
So we've spent the summer really heads down, kind of talking about the platform and where we wanted to take it and so on. And we came down to, like I kind of talked about earlier in our why, Lions Guide why, which is, we want to help small business owners meet the demands placed on them as business owners in the areas of leadership, performance, and business development. And so how have we been going about doing that? Well, we've done a lot of things over the last 2 years as far as creating episodes. I've been hosting clients from one-on-one, which that grew into groups as the clients came in, and we built out the Lions Guide library. And ultimately where it all came to, where we picked our heads up and said, well, we're throwing all this stuff against the wall. What's sticking? Ultimately became what it is today, which is the Lions Guide Academy, that we focused on all those areas. And right now the team between our operational support team members and myself and Flip and now Jay, man, we got a cool little platform going on here, which is, so we're having, starting November, weekly performance sessions and leadership sessions throughout the month that we're opening doors. We're opening doors, open house. So if you can come on and join the membership now through the end of the year, there's no cost to you. You can cancel anytime. And you can really get the full experience of Lions Guide. You'll get access not only to our weekly sessions, work group sessions, but also have full access to the Lions Guide library, which is where the everyday leadership course is, where the Lions Guide self-discipline course is, where all of our leadership lectures are, where all of our performance lectures are. All of the episodes are out there as well, and it's growing. But basically, we were like, man, you know what? Let's just help people as much as we can for the rest of the year. And I, for one, feel I'm confident that whoever comes and experiences it, especially folks that have come in and experienced it, like just the feedback I get back. So I'm very confident people who want to come just take advantage of the promotion, if you will, for the rest of the year will love it. They'll definitely get something about it, whether they stay or not. I'm indifferent to that point. But like Jay said, when we first talked about it, like this promotional stuff, he goes, "We're going to help a lot of people." And I'm like, yeah. That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, we are really, what I came across, this is the Lions Guide open house for the rest of the year. So if you go to the website, you can check it out. There's a link right to it. That'll tell more about it, what's included. I'm continuing to add that as some questions have come in since the announcement, just kind of what the schedule is. So all the sessions will be opened up. So if you hop in, sign up, you'll get access to everything. The courses, the sessions, whatever. And like I say, if you want to stick around, you actually get it ongoing for life of what we call the Pro Plus membership, which is the full experience. You'll get that for half off just for coming in early, being a founding, enrollee or member or whatever you want to call it. And we just want to go go get it done. We're doing it anyway. So doors open. Come join us and see what it's all about. Happy to have you.
That's right. Yeah. And from the flip standpoint, everyday leadership is out there within all this group. So I have to plug my own thing here because it's my show. So I'm going to plug my own. I'm going to plug my own piece. Starting to take on clients as well, which is really fun to be able to talk to people one-on-one and really take everyday leadership to the granular level for what those are. And I know everybody does that, by the way. So that's also the high performance side. So I don't want to misplug those things that they're good. But yeah, listen, guys, we're at 45 minutes. It's been, well, besides the Jay Teagues incident, it's been, which, I mean,
Jeez.
Thank God
Army
this
guys,
is, thank God this is being recorded and he can't defend himself right now. This is awesome. He can only.
I liked when he was standing right here and couldn't defend himself.
I know. Yeah, he just keeps logging things up on Facebook, which is funny. But listen. Great November coming. A little bit different format in November coming, actually. We're going to be doing a few different things. We're still going to have the rant next week with Laura. Still going to have the Lions Den. We got a great Lions Den coming up, by the way. Yeah, it is the JT incident of 2022. You know what? But you know what that's saying, Jay? That's saying because, again, he can't hear us or he can't defend himself. He's saying that there's going to be a Jay incident of 2023 and a Jay incident. So we're great. You're selling, man. We need to really talk about him coming on, right? Yeah, he can't even spell incident right, so then he has to go.
Oh my goodness! Wow,
are we really seriously? We're bringing this dude on? Like, my gosh!
Stop it. Jay's awesome, man. He's like he did two ignite sessions, and man, like folks were piled up, had a ton of great feedback on it. So yes, we say all that in just
absolutely in jest.
Here's the Marine, sailor, and soldier.
That's right. That's right. Department of the Navy's beating Department of the Army right now because he can't do anything. Go Navy, beat Army. But listen, thanks for stopping by today. Go check out the open house. Again, it's nothing more than stopping by. It's free. Jump in on some lectures for yourself. Get into those types of stuff, right? It's going to be that way. It's not expensive after that. So for business owners and self-development alike, it's really, that's right, Jay, shots fired. For everybody, there's multiple levels of how all of this kind of plays out, right? If you're a parent, if you're a leader, if you're a follower, like there's multiple levels. This helps. All of it helps really. And so we're excited to do it. We're excited for the next year. We're excited for the next 90 days. Laura will be next week on for the rant. We haven't chose a topic yet. I can tell you that on the Lions Den, Dale and I are going to have a good topic. And that's going to be, since we discussed heavily Tom Brady and the man in the arena, our friend is going through some things right now. Not really our friend, but he's going through some things where he shot his mouth off. Maybe he shouldn't or shouldn't have, which we'll talk about when he likened football to the military. He's also going through some stuff, I think, that is good for transitioning veterans. I think that's something you guys know veterans are near and dear to our heart. 2.2% of our proceeds always will go to 22-0 to help on that cause. So veterans are always near and dear to us. So, but we want to talk about that kind of piece, at least I know on the Lions Den. And then 17th, we're going to be open. We may do another director's show if Jay could ever get his microphone. Maybe the three of us will be on that week to be able to look at something and host something. And then we'll pick a new book. So the new book, Dale and I are going to look over it through this week. And I'll announce the book next week when I'm on the rant with Laura. So listen, everybody, thanks for stopping by today. We appreciate you stopping on the flip side. Again, Simon Sinek's a great piece, a great kind of tool in the toolbox, if you will. All of his books really kind of cover some things that are pretty good. Leaders Eat Last is really good as well. Those two specifically, and Start With Why will give you a good headset about finding purpose for your people and starting towards inspire. So you're not just a leader, you're becoming more than that to people. And, doesn't necessarily need to be your goal, but it's a great goal to get to is when you start to inspire and empower them like that. So thanks for stopping by today. We appreciate all your support. Look forward to you signing up and checking out the website and all the free stuff that we have now in the Fire Christmas sale that we're having all the way now until the end of the year. But we'll see you next week. And as always, flip out. See you guys.